Hey everybody, so we're continuing along with our season previews, getting down to the end of them here. Today, Buffalo Sabres. Buffalo, very, very, very bad last year. Worst team in the league. Got the number one overall pick, obviously drafted Rasmus Dahlin, who's supposed to be a franchise-changing defenseman. I don't think he's going to be that 18, but obviously he's going to develop and come into his own as he gains experience and gets a little bit older. He will be in Buffalo this year. As an 18-year-old, I don't know how much pressure they really want to put on him at this point. I think that he's just somebody that you need to develop and make sure that he's on the right track and not put a ton of pressure on him early on in his career. I expect Buffalo to be better this season than they were last year. They made a lot of moves this offseason. The moves that I like a lot, bringing in Jeff Skinner, trading Ryan O'Reilly and getting some good depth pieces back in return, as well as some other future pieces. But they got guys like Vladimir Sobotka and Patrick Berglund back. Tage Thompson, I think, is a really good young player. So they've made some moves to make this team not only better in the future, but better now. I think that they're going to have a much better season than they did last year. And given how bad the bottom half of that Atlantic Division is, they have a chance to be a 5th or 6th place team rather than an 8th place team. So let's look at the lineup here and see what we're working with. Again, lines are by roster resource. So certainly subject to change and not guaranteed to be right all the time. Lines fluctuate. Who guys play with changes all the time. But the top line, Jeff Skinner, Jack Eichel, and Kyle Okposo. Second line, Vlad Sobotka, Casey Middlestat, and Sam Reinhart. Third line, Evan Rodriguez, Patrick Berglund, and Jason Pominville. Fourth line, Larson, Gergensons, and Thompson. With your top defense pair being Marco Scandella and Rasmus Ristolainen. Second pair, Dahlin and McCabe. Third pair, Bellew and Bogosian. Carter Hutton in goal with Linus Ullmark backing him up. Your extra forwards are Scott Wilson and Nicholas Baptiste. And Matt Hunwick is your 7th defenseman. This is not a playoff-worthy lineup. This is not a team that's going to win 40-plus, 50-plus games. But this is a lineup that is going to be better than they were last year. This is a lineup that is going to win probably 30-something games and probably in the high 30s, maybe approach 40 wins. At best, they're a 500 team, I think. So probably not getting to 40 wins, but they can be close if they're a 500 team and don't lose a million games in overtime. They're not bad. They're certainly on the right track. They are absolutely on the right track. They have some really, really good young pieces in this lineup. Obviously, Eichel, Reinhart, Middlestat, Tage Thompson now, Dahlin on the back end, Jake McCabe on the back end. There are pieces there for a very, very bright future in Buffalo, but they're not ready yet. They're still young. These really good pieces are still young, and there's not enough of a supporting cast around them, a good enough supporting cast around them to really have a huge impact and win a lot of games. So, I mean, they're not a team that's expected to be good now, and I think everyone knows that they're not going to be good now. They just need to continue building for the future, and that's what they're doing, and that's what they look like, and that they're on the right track for sure. Up front, obviously, the addition of Jeff Skinner, I think, is going to be huge. They've had Eichel now for a while, but they haven't been able to put pieces around him that have been really beneficial for him. They haven't had a lot of scoring wingers. That's been a big issue for them. Evander Kane was really their only scoring winger, and he's since been traded to San Jose and signed long term there. So Skinner is a huge piece added to this lineup. Okposo has been a disaster coming over from the New York Islanders. They gave him $6 million a year, and he's been an absolute disaster. He struggled to stay healthy. He has not produced at all offensively. They need Kyle Okposo to get back to being at least a 20-goal scorer this year. He's got to do something to justify that contract. Maybe now playing with Eichel and Skinner, if that is where he plays, he might end up down further in the lineup with Reinhart moving up with Eichel and Skinner. But he's got to produce something offensively this year. Connor Sheary's not in the lineup. He's week to week. He's injured right now. That's why he's not up here. I should have put him in down here. Connor Sheary is on this team, and when he's healthy, will be a valuable winger for this team and a goal scorer for this team. But he's out injured right now. So that moves Sobotka up out of a bottom six role into the second line left wing spot, if that's where he plays. I don't see him as a top six winger. Sherry definitely belongs there when he's healthy, and they might get another young player up there for right now until Sherry comes back. But Middlestat I really, really like. Reinhart, I think, needs to build off of his 50-point season last year and take that to the next level, get up near 70 points. Pominville's just kind of veteran leadership at this point. Patrick Berglund, a really good third liner, great third line center coming over from St. Louis. Evan Rodriguez, another depth young player. Their fourth line, Larson, Gergensons, and Thompson, I think can play physically. They're not all that tough, but they can grind along the wall and play physically when needed. So up front, they're not in terrible shape. I think they're certainly short on goal scorers on the wings, but again, it's a process, and you're not going to go from a last place team to a Stanley Cup contender overnight. On the back end, defense has been a huge issue for this team over the last few years. They're getting better for sure. Rasmus Ristolainen and Jake McCabe are another year older, got more experience under their belt. Marco Scandella has been around the league for a long time now. Obviously, Dahlin coming in, being their first overall pick. So, a decent top four there. Certainly not up there with the best in the league, but they're getting better, and it's pretty solid. And Dahlin needs to develop, McCabe needs to develop, Ristolainen needs to develop. These guys need to become sure thing top four defensemen soon. Third pair is Bellew and Bogosian. There's good toughness there, good veteran leadership. Both guys have had injury issues in their career, especially Bogosian. Bogosian has not been able to stay healthy. But he's a pretty good defenseman and a very physical defenseman when he is healthy. So he's somebody that I really want to see stay healthy and in the lineup. So their defense is okay. It's not great. Certainly better than it was when they had all those injuries last year and the year before, and there were legit AHL guys in this top six defense, and that was a huge issue for Buffalo. But when these six or even seven, Matt Hunwick's a pretty good seventh defenseman, so when these seven are healthy, their defense is not in bad shape. It's when injuries start to pile up and you get two or three guys out injured, then you're in trouble. And then in goal, Carter Hutton, he's never been a starter before. He had a terrific year last year backing up Jake Allen, but he's never been a starter before. So there's a lot of expectations for him. People expect him to be a really solid goaltender for Buffalo, something they have not had in a number of years. But we're going to have to wait and see how it goes out, how it works, because I think there's certainly potential there for him to be very, very good and Buffalo to win a lot more games than people expect. But when he's never started before and you've never seen him over the course of a full season have to play 55, 60 games, you don't know how he's going to hold up throughout the whole season. So that's kind of a question mark. It's a question mark, but a very optimistic question mark, where people are very optimistic on how Carter Hutton's going to play as a full-time starter. And then Linus Ullmark is his backup, and he'll be fine in that role. I'm not worried about that. So overall, a team that is getting better, a team that still has a long way to go, but definitely on the right track. Some really good young pieces here. Some really good moves this offseason to bring in a better supporting cast for these young players. And this is a team that I think is headed in the right direction, but is definitely not there yet and definitely still has a ways to go. So let me know what you think about the Sabres down in the comment section below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. Check out offthewallhockey.com. All those links are down in the description. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon.